Hey YouTube, this is James LaFleur with the Impossible channel. We're going to be talking about the wall. There are many walls out there, but there's one in particular that interests me a lot.
Welcome.
That would be the Antarctic ice wall, one that has not been talked about officially ever, but you can see it in movies, TV series, and even company logos. The Illuminati and the Freemasons talk about an architect and even depicted many paintings and such, a flat world built with columns that hold it all together. What's most amazing still is the fact that Admiral Byrd and many others stated clearly that there was something out there in Antarctica that could cross from pole to pole in about 7 minutes.
And the intelligence reports indicated that one known as Admiral Byrd was to be recommissioned, and he was to be sent in there to retrieve the two saucers and also the technology and personnel associated with it.
What could that be? Pink Floyd and many other bands have tried to warn us about this wall that supposedly separates our district from others. We will show you a very curious map that depicts the separation and probably the wall itself. Map drawn by cartoonist Vince White shows clearly two different worlds separated by a ring of ice, or a wall of ice. Other maps, such as the one Observer sent us, shows us two entrances to small districts other than ours that could actually be the stairway to one another.
I think this is a song of hope.
Maybe hell, maybe heaven. Now the most interesting part is that the name of the operation chosen to identify this wall was Operation High Jump, and I'm pretty sure you've heard about it many times. The name Operation High Jump was given exactly because all they had to do was jump over a humongous wall, one that no man had ever jumped before, not that we know of. But as we all know the results, Operation failed within 2 months and they came running back with tales of the sea. At first, Admiral Byrd was not taken so seriously by the media and such, and by what I understand, after other operations he was locked away. He spoke too much of the subject and was considered dangerous to the continuing operations and recon missions.
But strangely enough, there is left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being. And that's beyond the pole, on the other side of the South Pole, from Middle America. And I think it's quite astonishing that there should be an area as big as that unexplored.
Let's freeze a little bit here and try and understand the implications of all of this. Having a wall that separates us would implicate we would need an agency that controls who gets in and out. Also, one of these agencies would have to control what the people know of this wall, like NASA and TJPIX. So does this ring a bell? NSA, CIA, NASA. Well, let's continue. Last but not least, we would need a reason for all of this to exist. The wall, the districts, and then I jump over to the Bible and remember one of the most told stories ever, one which you probably know of, Adam and Eve. So if Adam and Eve were expelled from paradise, where did they actually end up going to? Questions like, were we put here? Are we domed? Are we a menace to the universe? And have we been quarantined? Are questions that start popping up like crazy, and they are indeed good questions. At the same time, this is all just a theory, but one that has many background versions to it. One of the most interesting facts about the so-called wall is that the fact that we can check live GPS plane tracking right now, and if you do that and we transform it into a flat earth model, we can put it into another perspective and visualize the fact that the planes, they avoid the Antarctic ring, and not only that, they never cross it, ever. Another thing that also helps us put things into perspective is checking wind and ocean patterns on a globe model and then doing the same thing on a flat earth model, and boom, NASA and gravity starts crumbling down. So one might ask, why did they lie? The answer is very simple, but it hurts like a sting. When Columbus tried warning others that America and other continents might exist, authorities at the time denied its existence and permission to sail away. Eventually, Columbus got permission to sail overseas, and that was the beginning of a new age. Though Chinese and Vikings had already reached the Americas, these were uncharted continents to the Europeans. But then again, why lie? Now, if we take a look at some of the maps we have, you'll see Antarctica was separated in two pieces in one of these maps, which begs us the question, how did they know? How does a map from such a distant time have iceless Antarctica depicted on it? Question number 2. Could these two pieces be Lemuria and Atlantis? These are questions that actually, raise more questions, like what's on the other side? If there is a wall and Operation High Jump was all about going over it, then what is on the other side? Maybe dinosaurs, maybe humanoids. Who knows? But many theorize that an entire civilization could be on the other side somehow, waiting for us to find them.
I brought them over from Grand Central Terminal. Why you put them rats in my locker? I thought it was a thing of respect.
Others theorize it's a highly advanced civilization with the most absurd tech we've ever seen, and that could be true reason for all this secrecy. Maintaining us working on a daily basis and worried with mundane things is exactly what they all want. Seems like they would like this paradise all to themselves and would do anything to make the general population blindfolded about it. Now, if you look into the space pictures and all that NASA CGI crap, we have a lot of fails and computer graphics. All of this proved in the past. So nowadays Hollywood is actually doing a much better job than NASA into throwing people into the globe theory. We have Universal Studios, Warner Brothers, DreamWorks, and many other studios that force into our minds the globe theory without even questioning it. Again, why the secrecy? Bigfoot and many other weird animals like the alien squid, which has no DNA connection whatsoever with any other living being on Earth. How do we explain that? How do we put things into perspective? So just to finish off this part, we have the Rh negative people on Earth who have also no connection whatsoever to the Rh positive ones. And so in other words, there are 3% or 4% of the Earth's population that has this Rh negative blood type that can't be connected to monkeys or Rh positive humans. Okay, so now isn't that interesting? If there is a bigger world out there, that would explain a lot of the unsolved mysteries and would enlighten so many others to come. The UN map and many other comparisons can be made. And the reason for this to be a big secret, that it would mean easy money, free resources, and high-tech apparatus for the people who would find this first.
I tell you one reason they're interested. It's by far the most valuable, important place left in the world for science. That's why the scientific groups all over the nation are really interested.
But then again, if we pissed off the aliens somehow, this could mean the start of a new age indeed. One where they come to show us what they're made of, maybe, or one where they show us peace. Who knows? Stick around for more, subscribe, leave a comment, and I'll see you again.
What we do here is go back.
Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. A presentation of the Longines Whitnall Watch Company, maker of Longines, the world's most honored watch, and Whitnor, distinguished companion to the world-honored Longines. Good evening, this is Frank Knight. May I introduce our co-editors for this edition of the Longines Chronoscope? Larry Lasser, CBS News correspondent, and Kenneth Crawford, National Affairs Editor of Newsweek magazine. Our very distinguished guest for this evening is Admiral Richard E. Byrd.
The North Pole used to be a no man's land, but these are the days when, by buying a ticket on a commercial airliner, you can fly across the North Pole and drink a cocktail at the same time. You know, only 60 or more years ago, about 35 years ago, our guest tonight found out whether there was any land north of the North American continent. He made that first discovery flight, and I must say that Admiral Byrd, our guest tonight, is not only our greatest living explorer, but he's been an inspiration to countless Americans. Admiral Byrd, you've been to both the North Pole and the South Pole. Is there any unexplored land left on this earth that might appeal to adventurous young Americans?
Yes, there is. And not up around the North Pole, because it's getting crowded up there now, because they find out it's really usable, not only to live in, but militarily. But strangely enough, there's left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being. And that's beyond the pole on the other side of the South Pole from Middle America. And I think it's quite astonishing that there should be an area as big as that unexplored.
That's a tremendous
So
challenge.
there's a lot of adventure left down at the bottom of the world.
Admiral, do you hope to see that?
I do.
Well, Admiral,
Yeah.
would you say that since you've been to both the extremities of Earth, are these expeditions to such far-off places, are they getting easier because of modern techniques, or is danger still close at hand?
Well, it's a little risky, but nothing like it used to be with the old slow planes and the small cruising radius where we had to put down bases. We replaced the dog teams, and of course that was a big improvement. But now the planes go much faster and they are safer, and they have a much bigger cruising radius. You haven't got the danger of a terribly heavy load.
Admiral, an expedition to which I believe you're the advisor is now en route. What is that expedition doing?
Well, that's the icebreaker ANTARCTICA, and it's a reconnaissance expedition. It's going down to the South Pole area to make certain observations and to look for some bases. They will be back in April, and they will report back, and upon the information we get from that undertaking, we will base the bigger expedition that's to follow.
Is that very definitely planned, or is that...
That is being planned right now. So I'm willing to say to you that there will be a number of expeditions that will follow, I think, year after year, at the bottom of the world, because the government has really become interested.
Well, Admiral Byrd, I can understand, I think everybody can, the interest in the North Pole because it's so near our greatest challenger, Soviet Russia. But why this interest in the bottom of the world? Nobody living down there, is there?
No, it's pretty cold. There's only one permanent resident, that's the emperor penguin. The little ones live further north. I tell you one reason they're interested. It's by far the most valuable, important place left in the world for science. That's why the scientific groups all over the nation are really interested. But more important than that, it has to do with the future of the nation, those to come after us, or even during your lifetime, because it happens to be an untouched reservoir of natural resources. And you know, as the world shrinks with an ever-increasing acceleration, far-flung places once useless, like we thought the North Pole was, and no man's land, become very useful. The bottom of the world will be important, not only to us, but to our allies.
I was going to ask you, does it have military importance?
It has some, and as the world shrinks, it will continue to shrink with an ever-increasing acceleration, thus bringing these places closer. And in the future, I can see a time when it will be very, very important strategically.
Well, has the development of air power increased the strategic importance of places like the
oh, very much
Parma
so.
Peninsula, we'll say?
Very much so. Even now, if anything happened and we lost the Panama Canal. We would have to control the islands just north of Antarctica, which are part of Antarctica. Then between there and Cape Horn.
I've heard it said that there are 7 continents in the world, and one of them has never been seen by a woman, and that's Antarctica. Is that actually true?
Well, if the powerful nation is an island, as far as I know, that's true. No woman's ever stepped foot upon the Antarctic continent, and it's the most peaceful place in the world.
Well, I'm sure that won't last very long. I understand now that you're working with the Arnold Bread Company in charge of frozen foods. Now, is there any future for frozen foods down these frozen extremities?
Well, I think the human race can be helped by that. This was thought out by Dean Arnold, who's, in my opinion, a great humanitarian. He learned that we went down there after 4 or 5 years and finished a meal that we had left there on the table when we had evacuated Little America. Everything was perfect, including the bread. So he got the idea of this frozen bread, and already he sent some to Europe, and it worked very well over there for some of the starving people. So you can store it down in the Antarctic and against the lean years, and you wouldn't have any people in the world really starving if you did that.
Yes, in the event of an atomic war.
You stay there forever.
Admiral, you speak of the resources of Antarctica. What are they? What are the natural resources there?
Well, we've found enough of coal within 180 miles of the South Pole in a great ridge of mountains that's not covered with snow, enough to supply the whole world for quite a while.
Well,
that's the coal. Now, there's evidence of many other minerals. We are pretty sure there's oil. Now, that coal shows the bottom of the world. Now, by far the coldest spot in the world. Where that coal is gets 100 below zero in the winter.
Well,
it was once tropical. So we think there's oil there, and there's evidence, probably uranium there.
Is it any secret? Is there uranium there? That would be the only thing that would be practical to actually go after, I suppose. Everything else would be economically unfeasible, wouldn't it?
Well, as we recklessly expend our resources, the time will come when we'll have to go after that stuff down there. Well, you know, I avoided what you said about uranium. I'm not sure about that. I don't want to have the world fight over the Antarctic.
And Robert, is there a competition among other nations to try to get information about Antarctica and possibly to secure some of these resources?
Well, yes. There are now 7 nations very much interested. Russia is interested tremendously. That I'm sure of. Australia has an expedition down there. The Argentine, the Chile, New Zealand, Britain, and so on. Now, you can understand those people down there being interested because they live down there, the New Zealanders, the Argentinians, the Chileans, and Australians. And so we don't do much about claiming anything.
Admiral, you make this sound a little crowded. Are there that many expeditions now there or en route there?
Well, you know, as I said, it's the most peaceful place in the world, but I don't think it will be for long because of this intense interest on the part of other nations and this nation.
Well, Admiral Byrd, are private expeditions a thing of the past? Is expedition and exploration, making expedition and exploration now purely a government function because of the tremendous cost
No, I don't think so. I think down south it may be more or less a thing of the past, but not other expeditions that go. There's a lot of them go north now.
This latest expedition now on the way is a government expedition, I take it.
Yes, that's the government.
Admiral, may I ask you, is there a great difference between the top of the world and the bottom of the world?
There is. Now, the North Pole is the center of an ocean 10,000 feet deep. The South Pole, the center of a plateau, 10,000 feet high. The North Polar Sea is surrounded by continents that are slightly frozen. The Antarctic continent is surrounded by a belt of ice, frozen seas of at least 1,200 miles thick. Now, the South is a plateau. It gets, in some places, 14,000 feet up. I've been over areas about 13,000, and it's a little bit chilly up there. So there's that big difference between the top and bottom of the world. The North really isn't very cold up there on the Arctic Ocean.
Not compared to the South. Admiral Byrd, we often hear it said that our young Americans now aren't as hardy as their forefathers. Do you think that Americans do measure up to the standards, the physical standards and morale standards of the past?
I do. I don't believe that. I think they're just as hardy.
Well, what would you say was the most valuable factor on an expedition? Is it morale, or physical courage, or is it sheer equipment?
Well, I've always thought that loyalty was by far the most important trait. The British told me that when I first went down in 28, that I couldn't possibly get through the winter night without a mutiny if I took more than 20 men. But to serve science, I had to take 42 men. Then I took 56 the next time, and so on. So, and I did find that loyalty was the most important thing during the winter night when it's very hard on your nerves. I think that's best trait.
Well, that's a very valuable characteristic at any time. Well, thank you very much, Admiral Byrd. It's been a great pleasure to have you here tonight.
It's a pleasure to be with you.
The opinions expressed on the Longines Chronoscope were those of the speakers. The editorial board for this edition of the Longines Chronoscope was Larry Lasser and Kenneth Crawford. Our distinguished guest was Admiral Richard E. Byrd. A Longines watch makes the most perfect Christmas gift. It has beauty, elegance, and enduring quality, and a universal reputation as just about the finest of the world's watches. Now, actually, barring accident or abuse, the Longines watch that you give this Christmas will be better than new after 5 or even 10 years of daily use. Time holds no terrors for a Longines. The exquisitely finished watch movement defies normal wear and friction, achieves unsurpassed timekeeping accuracy and reliability. Thus does Longines inner quality match Longines outer elegance. Among the finest watches of the world, only Longines watches have won 10 World's Fair grand prizes, 28 gold medals, highest honors for accuracy in fields of precise timing. Cased in precious metals, styled in the best of good taste, a Longines watch is a joy to own, an enduring symbol of your affection, the perfect Christmas gift. Yet, you may buy and proudly give a Longines watch this Christmas for as little as $71.50. Visit your Longines Whitnor jeweler agency and make your selection. Longines, the world's most honored watch, the world's most honored Christmas gift. Premier product of the Longines Whitnor Watch Company since 1866, maker of watches of the highest character. We invite you to join us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday evening at this same time for the Longines Chronoscope, a television journal of the important issues of the hour, broadcast on behalf of Longines, the world's most honored watch, and Whitnor, distinguished companion to the world-honored Longines. This is Frank Knight, reminding you that Longines and Whitnor watches are sold and serviced from coast to coast by more than 4,000 leading jewelers who proudly display this emblem. Agency for Longines Whitnor watches.